I came home late, dropped my tool bag by the door, and before I could take off my boots, Erin looked up from her phone and hit me with, "You didn't send the transfer. And the faucet in the guest bath still drips. We can't live like this." I stood there in the entryway, still wearing the dust of the job site. "Good evening to you too. We're falling behind," she kept, tapping the glass coffee table like a metronome. "Amanda and the girls booked a spa weekend. I had to say I confirm tomorrow. Also, we need a new dining set. The one we have is embarrassing." "I worked 11 hours, I answered, stepping into the kitchen for water. "I'll look at the faucet in the morning." "No, you'll do it now, because you always say tomorrow. And the money, don't make me remind you every time." I stared at the fridge door and thought how quiet the house used to be when I got home. "I'll take care of the faucet," I said, turning back. "On the transfer, we're not behind on anything." She tilted her head like a judge reading charges. "We're behind on living. You never take me anywhere. Amanda's husband just upgraded their backyard. They're having everyone over next week. Try not to look like a contractor who fell asleep in the truck." If I'd known where it was headed from that moment, I would have changed my boots and walked out of the marriage with them on. She followed me down the hall while I grabbed a wrench from the laundry closet. "Also, I need you to call the landscaper. I told him you'd double the budget for spring. The front looks cheap." "You told him I'd what?" I leaned against the door frame of the guest bath. "Double the budget," she repeated. "Don't make me carry everything." "You spend every afternoon with those ladies," I said. "Carry what exactly?" She folded her arms, chin high. "My role is to show up and look like your partner isn't failing." I turned the water off at the valve, kneeling. The wrench bit. Her steps clicked back down the hall. A minute later she called, "And wash up before bed. You smell like concrete." The drip stopped. The bigger leak didn't. If you'd told me then I'd be grateful for that night, I wouldn't have believed it. But that's the crack the light came through. The next Saturday, instead of sleeping in, I was at my desk with a legal pad, numbers and columns. I'd been funding her brunch circuit like it was a civic duty. I pulled the joint card out of my wallet and set it on the table. When Erin came down in a robe, I slid the card across the wood. "What's this?" She reached for it. "Retired," I said. "Household account is paused. Essentials stay covered. Extras are on hold." "On hold." Her laugh was quick and sharp. "We're adults. Adults don't live on essentials. They do when they treat each other like ATM machines." She paced to the window and back. "Don't be dramatic. You know how we look among our friends when I can't keep up? We'll look like a couple that lives within their means. Rent, utilities, groceries, insurance. I've got it. Your brunch parade? Not covered." She cocked a hip. "So now I'm on allowance?" "Now you're on appreciation. When you respect what I do, I'll respect the shopping tours. Until then, I'm not sponsoring your committee meetings about me." She rubbed her temples. "I shouldn't have to ask my husband for things." "You don't," I said. "You ask your employer. And I'm not your employer." She threw the card on the table. "Amanda was right. You're small." "Fantastic," I replied. "Then this will be easy." I changed the online passwords, split my direct deposit, and removed myself from the brunch group chat I'd somehow been dragged into. I sent a simple text to the landscaper. "Please maintain current budget. Any changes require my approval." I CC'd Erin. No exclamation marks. No apology. At lunch I told Mark, my foreman, that I'd be off evenings for the next month. "Personal project," I said, and he got it. He's the kind of guy who listens more than he talks. He nodded and scribbled something on a scrap of plywood. "Boundaries." That afternoon Erin tried the first soft turn. She came into the garage with lemonade like a sitcom and leaned against my workbench. "Hey," she started quieter. "I know I've been extra lately. The girls have been stressing everyone out. Maybe I got carried away." She nudged the glass toward me. "You work hard. I see that." I took the drink, set it down untouched. "Good. I'm trying here," she said. "Try less talking, more respect," I answered. "There's a difference between stress and contempt." "I don't have contempt." She touched my arm. "I want us to be good." "You want us to look good," I said. "Those aren't the same." She looked down, then tried a soft laugh. "Can we at least go to Amanda's backyard reveal Friday? It'll be weird if we skip." "I'm not skipping," I said. "I'm leaving early. If you want me there, you leave with me." She rolled her eyes and faked a grin. "We'll see." "We will," I said, going back to my sketch of a built-in shelf I didn't actually need. Friday came. The new backyard had a fire pit and chairs nobody would sit in. People I barely knew gave me tours of things I didn't care about. Erin stuck to Amanda's side and collected small smirks like loyalty points. I hung with their husbands near the grill, talking baseball and mortgages. When it was time, I tapped my watch and caught Erin's eye. "I'm leaving in 10, I told her. She smiled at her reflection in a sliding door. "I'll ride with Amanda." "You rode with me." "I know," she said, turning back to her circle. "We'll grab a late bite after." "Then grab your own ride home," I replied, evenly. "You're off my schedule tonight." Amanda's husband, Jared, glanced over like a referee smelling trouble. Erin's smile was sugar. "Don't be controlling," she said, barely moving her lips. "Not controlling," I said. "Correcting." I set my cup down, told Jared thanks for the char on the burgers, and left. I didn't slam anything. The door closed like a period. She didn't come home that night. I slept fine. The next morning, Erin was at the table, sunglasses on though the blinds were half closed. "You left me there," she said. "You chose to stay." I had to avoid making a scene. "You made a choice," I corrected. "Different letter. Same point. You hate my friends." "I don't know your friends," I said. "I know your performance around them." She traced the rim of a mug. "You're making me the bad guy." "You're making you the bad guy," I replied, grabbing my keys. "I'm just making breakfast." Work got easier when I stopped juggling someone else's optics. I'd come home, cook simple food, change a filter, sand a shelf. Erin moved like a tenant who paid and critique. She'd sigh at the towels. She'd point out streaks on the mirror. She'd put boxes from deliveries on my side of the garage, so I'd trip. One Wednesday, she called me while I was fixing a cabinet at a client's condo. "When are you sending the spa deposit?" she asked. "I'm not," I said, measuring twice and marking with a pencil. "Don't be petty." "Petty is buying roses after stepping on someone's neck," I replied. "This is a budget." "Everyone's going," she insisted. "I can't be the only one staying home." "Then don't," I said. "Go. Pay with your card." "My card is your money." "It was," I said. "Now it's yours." Silence. Then a click. My client, an older guy in a faded navy cap, looked up from his kitchen table. "Wife?" he asked. "Something like that." "Do your work, kid," he said. "It keeps the mind from loading garbage." That Friday, Erin did the second soft turn. She made dinner. She set real plates, not the usual takeout containers. She wore a dress she knew I liked. She poured me a glass of red, sat close, nudged my knee. "I booked us a getaway," she told me, eyes kind. "Just 2 nights. Quiet place upstate, nothing flashy. No group, just us." I cut the steak and chewed while I looked at her. "Where's the money from?" "I used what you gave me last month." "I didn't give you anything last month." "I had some left," she said quick. "I've been saving." "You've been saving my money for our trip," I said. "That's creative." "Don't ruin this," she pleaded. "I'm trying to bridge." "You've been distant." I laughed once, not loud. "You're the one who booked the bridge and forgot to tell me where it goes." "It goes to us," she said, putting her hand on mine. "I miss you." "You miss my funding," I replied, not moving my hand. "You miss being seen with a husband who nods on command." She blinked. "You really think that low of me?" "I think accurately of you," I said. "And I'm not driving 2 hours to be graded." She got up, set her napkin down with ceremony. "Fine. Keep your pride. Keep your little rules." "Gladly," I said. "They're the only thing that still respects me in this house." She didn't speak to me the next morning. She typed fast on her phone and switched screens when I walked by. Glue-on smiles cost a lot of energy. By Sunday, she had the plan I should have seen coming. "I'm going to stay with Amanda a few nights," she announced, dropping a set of keys on the counter. "We need space. I need time to think." "Take all you need," I answered. "I'll change the alarm code." Her eyebrows jumped. "You're really doing that?" "I'm really protecting my sleep. Text me if you need something important. No midnight drop-ins." She stared, measuring whether to shout or sulk. She chose a small, tight nod. "The divorce papers are on their way," she added, watching my face. "You've been thinking for a while then," I said. "Good. We'll make it clean." "My friends say I'm settling," she said. "They're not wrong. They're not married to me," I replied. "You're free to find your match." She opened her mouth to throw a final line, didn't find one, and left with a suitcase. The house breathed. I stood in the hallway, not triumphant, not wounded. Just done. I took a trash bag to the bathroom, cleared half the vanity, boxed up products I'd never understood but paid for. I slid my ties back into a dresser I could open without commentary. I called the locksmith. "This afternoon works," I said. At work, Mark glanced at me between framing and said, "So, that project you mentioned. Demo complete," I replied. He grinned. "Good. Now you build something." Single life at 42 isn't glamorous. It's peaceful. I cooked more. I slept hard. I met the guys for wings on Thursdays. On Saturdays, I fixed small things for neighbors because it kept my hands from reaching for a phone that didn't need me. When the papers came, I read them once, handed them to a notary downtown, and sent them back without writing a poem in the margins. There's dignity in brief sentences. 2 weeks after Aaron left, I was stacking lumber in the back of McCall's Hardware when Denise walked into my life like a needed breeze. I know, I'm not supposed to say that, but it's true. She was there to pick up a box of screws and a quart of satin enamel. She asked me where they kept putty knives, and I pointed, then laughed. "I work with this stuff all day and still can't find anything in this place." "You the guy who bought all the 2x10s last month?" she asked. "The kid up front complained you carried them like they weighed nothing." "Gossip travels fast in building supply," I replied. "I'm Cole." "Denise," she said. "My landlord calls me every time something breaks, and I'm too stubborn to wait for him." "Stubborn looks good on you," I said, and she smirked like that line could have gone worse. We talked by the paint shaker. She teaches middle school math. She likes coffee that tastes like actual coffee. She lives near the park and runs before it gets crowded. Nothing fancy, just a person with her own life. We swapped numbers because we had something to swap beyond attention. That night, Mark texted, "You go out or sit with your toolbox?" "I met someone," I wrote. "Slow lane." "Best lane," he replied. Denise and I started with a walk. No grabbing, no declarations. We joked about the birds that act like they pay property taxes. We found a taco truck that didn't try to be a lifestyle. She asked what I did besides work. I told her I used to play guitar in a band that played more garages than bars. She said she had a stack of novels she never finished and didn't feel bad about it. We kept it simple, which is another word for sane. Aaron texted me 3 times that first month. The first was practical. "I need the login to the streaming service." I answered, "Get your own." The second was bait. "I miss our dinners." I ignored it. The third was photo heavy. Shots of her at dinners I wasn't paying for, with the captions of a person auditioning for approval. I didn't reply. Boundaries aren't mean. They're clean. The divorce wrapped in early fall. No shouting. No bargaining over forks. I kept the house, the truck, the tools, and the pension I earned lifting more than my share. She took what she brought and what she insisted on taking to prove she could. We signed where the clerk told us to, nodded, and walked out like strangers who had learned enough about each other to stop talking. I wondered if there would be a tailspin after. There wasn't. I filled the quiet with new habits. Sunday mornings became a ritual at the diner with Denise after her run. I started meeting my neighbor, Samir, to play chess on his porch. He beats me most weeks. He's patient, and I move like everything is a nail. Evenings were for reading the unexciting books that teach you more than headlines do. Real life is repetitive, like a good workout. It builds the right muscles. Then the doorbell rang one morning and handed me free comedy. A month after the papers were done, I was making eggs when someone pounded the door like they were collecting a debt. I opened it to find Amanda. Yes, that Amanda, red-faced, hair pulled into a high ponytail like a flag of intent. "Your ex-wife is seeing my husband," she fired, straight from the holster. I looked at her, then at the street, then back. "Morning, Amanda." "Don't morning me," she snapped. "She's with Jared. She's been in my house. I found messages. I saw them at lunch. This is because of you." I laughed before I could help it and started to close the door. It was a reflex, like letting rain hit the porch, but not the living room. She pounded again, harder. I opened it because I wanted to see what script she was running. "You're going to fix this," she declared, stepping forward like she owned my foyer. "You're going to take her back. Get her out of my family." I leaned on the frame because it felt like a counter at a deli and she was ordering. "Come again. You caused this," she continued. "You cut her off. You abandoned her. She needed comfort." "I followed your advice," I said. You and your committee told her I was beneath her. She agreed. She left. That's the story. She made a mistake. Amanda shot back. You're responsible for cleaning it up. You're asking the guy you called small to be the cleanup crew. Stop with the lines, she snapped. This is my marriage. It is, I agreed. And your problem? I'm not taking anything back. I don't recycle that kind of trash. I kept my voice calm. No extra weight on words. My hand on the door stayed loose. You're heartless. I'm healed, I replied. Different thing. Jared says it was a phase, she said, like reading from a coach's notes. You need to show up and tell her to stop. I shook my head. Let me help you. I'm not her keeper. She told me she deserved better. She left. You visited my house to demand I rescue you from the results of your own advice. No. You think this is funny? I think it's math, I said. You all kept dividing. Now you're shocked there's less. I will not leave until you agree to talk to her. Then you'll be standing there alone, I said, and closed the door. She kicked it once, like the final word in a childish argument, and then I heard her car peel away. I went back to my eggs. At lunch, I told the story to the guys at Benny's. Mark, my neighbor Samir, and Quentin from 2 houses down who talks like a radio host. Mark wheezed he was laughing so hard. She came to your door like you're the lost and found desk. You told her no like you were declining a warranty, Samir said, amused. Quentin held up a wing. Public service announcement. When you outsource your decisions to your friends, don't complain when they invoice you. I showed them my new lock screen photo of a quiet trail Denise had picked near the creek. Mark nodded toward the phone. You good? I'm good, I said, and I'm not sending an invoice. Erin tried one last tactic after Amanda's doorstep theater. She texted me a week later. We should talk. I've been thinking. I wasn't fair. I was at the job site on a lunch break, sitting on a sheet of drywall, biting into a sandwich. I typed back, about what? She replied, everything. I let people influence me. I forgot who you were. Maybe we could meet. Just coffee. I stared at the text and remembered how I used to sprint to fix messages that shouldn't have been sent. I didn't sprint now. I thought of the house finally feeling like a house. I thought of the way Denise doesn't grab at me with needs she calls love. I answered, no meeting. If you need something practical, email. Otherwise, good luck. A minute later, another text. You've changed. Finally, a true statement. I pocketed the phone and got back to smoothing mud. Work is honest. It doesn't beg. That night, Denise and I sat on my porch steps with coffee and watched the evening do what evening does without rehearsal. I told her about Amanda's visit. She listened without interrupting, then leaned her shoulder into mine for a second and pulled away to sip. You handled it, she said. It wasn't hard, I replied. All I had to do was nothing. People expect you to fix what they break. Choosing not to is a skill. She smiled. You're good at that one. I'm learning, I said. Slow lane. She nodded. Good lane. I think there's this fantasy on shows where the revenge is fireworks and grand speeches. Real life. It's a letter to the bank redirecting autopay. It's a spare key not being given back. It's saying, I'm not available for that, and meaning it. When Denise and I started seeing each other a little more, it wasn't a burst, it was a steady pilot light. She met Mark and his wife at a barbecue where the grill sputtered and no one pretended it didn't. She laughed with Samir about his chess obsession. She showed up as herself. If you've lived in a house where everything is staged for visitors, real is a gift you don't take lightly. Then, because life likes to check whether you're serious, I ran into Erin and Jared at the grocery store, of all places. He stood by the rotisserie chickens looking like he wished the floor would turn into a trapdoor. She wore a shade of lipstick that could cut glass. I nodded once, moved my cart, and kept walking. Erin called my name. Cole. I stopped because I'm not a ghost. She stepped closer, cart between us like a mediator. How have you been? She asked, voice composed like a news anchor who knows the camera's on. Fine, I said. You look different. Translation, you look fine without me, and I hate it. Must be the sleep, I replied. Jared cleared his throat. How's work, man? Steady, I said. How's the backyard? Still there, he answered, smiling at a joke he didn't feel. Erin's eyes flicked like she was flipping cards for the right line. We should all be adults about this, she tried. No hard feelings. No feelings, I said. Best way. She misread the moment and reached for the familiar terrain of condescension. You always were so literal. That's why you never fit with my friends. I fit with myself, I said. Turns out that's enough. We could have stood there until the soup warmed in the can. I pushed my cart past them, grabbed a carton of eggs, and texted Denise. You want breakfast for dinner? She sent back a thumbs up and a heart because she's straightforward and doesn't negotiate every moment. I left the store without looking back. That's a small thing unless you've lived in a way where looking back is survival. Not anymore. The last time Erin knocked, she came with something like sincerity, which can be easy to mistake for the real thing if you're bored or lonely. I wasn't either. I came to apologize, she said on my front step. No agenda. I did you wrong. I believed people who enjoyed stirring. I made you the villain to feel better about wanting more. Appreciated, I said. We're still not meeting for coffee. I'm not asking, she said quickly. I just wanted to say it. Okay, I said. She looked past me into the house she used to arrange like a showroom. She noticed the guitar I'd put back on a stand, the shoes by the door actually being mine and not delivered to the wrong person. She mouthed a small wow at the quiet. Are you seeing someone? She asked. I'm living, I replied. I hope she appreciates you, Erin said, and for a slice of a second I believed she meant it. She does, I said, but even if she didn't, I would. That landed. She nodded, swallowed words I didn't need to hear, and left. No theater. No demands. The door closed soft. Here's the thing about apologies after damage. They're nice weather. They don't rebuild the house. I didn't need to hate her to keep my boundaries. I just needed to keep them. When Amanda came back that last time, yes, there was one more lap. She didn't knock like she owned the place. She knocked like a person who had learned disappointment. I wanted to say you were right, she started. About math. I leaned on the porch post and waited. Jared's on his third midlife crisis this year, apparently, she said, trying on humor. Don't worry. I'm not here to dump. I just figured you should know how your ex conducts herself. I already do, I said. And it's not my topic. I told her to stop being a passenger, Amanda added, and I almost smiled at the idea of that advice coming late. Good luck with your committee, I replied. She exhaled and looked at the street. You know what stung? She never looked at us like we were people. We were a scoreboard. That's a hard way to live, I said. Always counting someone else's points. I guess you finally stopped playing, she said. I did, I answered. She nodded and walked away without kicking the door. Progress, I suppose. That evening at Benny's, the guys wanted the encore. I gave them the condensed cut. Quentin clinked his glass. To boundaries, he announced. May they keep the right people in and the wrong people out. Mark leaned over. So when are you going to actually play that guitar again instead of pretending you're going to? Don't rush the classics, I said, and we all laughed. Now, if you're waiting for a twist where I crumble, you'll be disappointed. It's not that kind of story. The twist already happened the day I realized respect is a binary. You have it or you don't. If you start grading on a curve, you're the one getting curved. Denise and I took it slow. She met my sister, Meg, who lives 2 hours away and talks a mile a minute but hears every word. She saw my worst habit, leaving the tape measure wherever I last used it, and turned it into a game rather than a trial. On Sundays, we did nothing on purpose. I'd fix a hinge. She'd read 3 pages and fall asleep with the book on her chest. Real life. The miracle is in how boring it looks to outsiders. I finally put a small road bike on a hook in the garage. I started moving again, not to outrun anything, but because my legs remembered they liked being used. I gave away the dining set Erin hated because, well, she wasn't eating here to judge it, and I hosted the guys for burgers where nobody asked whether the chairs matched the table. They held us up. That's what mattered. I didn't post any of it. That's another luxury, doing things without checking in with strangers. One morning, Denise and I took the long route to the diner after her run. The waitress knows our order now and makes fun of me for asking for 1 less sugar in the coffee, like it's a negotiation. That day, Denise slid a key across the table. You don't need to use it, she said. I just want you to know I trust you in my space. I looked at the key, then at her, and didn't make a joke. Thank you, I told her. I'm not going to flood your sink or paint your cabinets blue. Good, she said. I like my cabinets. When we left the diner, a text buzzed on my phone from an unknown number. It was a short shot of a backyard I recognized, with people I used to know pretending to be happy. No message. Just a photo. I deleted it. You don't feed the part of your brain that likes to eat trash. I drove us home with the windows cracked and the music low. The house came into view, not staged, not perfect, but mine. The yard didn't look expensive. It looked lived in. My truck in the driveway, my shelves in the garage, my life inside. I parked, got out, and Denise touched my arm. You okay? She asked. I am, I said. And I'm hungry. Let's see if I can grill without burning it this time. You burned it last time because you were talking, she said. I was telling a great story, I replied. It was long, she said, smirking. Worth it, I said. She laughed and went inside to grab plates. I stood there a second, looking at the door that used to open to a climate report and now opened to silence unless I invited sound. It was a good second. Erin tried a few more times to send proof of her life going how she wanted. New hair, new dinners, new people who play the same old game. I didn't answer. You can win by not playing. She has her circle. I have mine. A week later, I got a message from Meg. Proud of you, little brother. You look lighter. That's not a romantic sentence. It's something better, accurate. I didn't go chasing punishment or try to make anyone feel bad. I just made it clear the subscription had ended and there were no trials left. That's the part that landed the hardest for Erin and her friends. They wanted a villain to argue with, not a closed door. The door stayed closed. The final line came when Erin sent one last, almost gentle text. Do you ever wonder if we gave up too soon? I looked at the question. Then I wrote back. I didn't give up. I moved on. There's a difference. And then, because I'm not unkind, I added, take care. I put the phone down, picked up the guitar, tuned it with that old, satisfying click, and played a song I used to murder when I was 20. It still wasn't good, but it didn't need to be. Denise came in, leaned on the door like it was a show worth the ticket, and nodded at the chorus even though there wasn't one. That's the epilogue you get in real life. Not fireworks. Not speeches. A house that's quiet when it should be, loud when it earns it, and full of people who don't keep score. A truck that starts. A job that pays because you show up. A woman who doesn't ask you to become less so she can feel more. Friends who laugh in the right places. And a knock on the door, occasionally, from the past asking for service you